Hello, I'm Leonard for TAMAPTA. In the spring of 1989, Stan Rubin and Thomas Smith visited Paltok. While they were there, they talked to Steve Illisiak, taxidermist.
What time you got started in taxidermist?
Well, I've always been interested in wildlife and stuff and trying to capture it on film and stuff. And I was looking through this magazine one day, and there was this ad for a taxidermy course through the mail, so I applied for that and I got some books. Studied them for about 3 or 4 months. And the guy, carpenter, came up one day, one summer, and he showed me how to skin and basic skinning and crating and stuff. So from there I just went on my own and started learning from there.
What was your first animal that you
Well, the first thing I tried was a ptarmigan, but it didn't work out because they're so delicate. But the first real mount that I had made was a loon, and then a fish, and from there it just started adding on as I got raw materials.
Yeah. Do you do lots around the town here?
Oh no, I just recently got my business license, and I'll start producing and start in town here and probably go through marketing through Inuvialuit and stuff.
Yeah. How is it to do like the marten that we've seen in there? How hard is it to do?
Well, it's all basic. It's just most fur-bearing animals are all basic. You just skin them down the back, and I order all my flexiform and stuff from Calgary. They make good stuff, and from there it's just putting it together, which takes, there's few processes you have to go through. Like I do work, you know, in between 3 hours, put an hour in and take a break and look at it again and start again.
Yeah. What about the ducks and geese and loons? How hard is that to do?
Well, they're, the ducks I find have thicker skin, and the feathers are more intact, and they're fairly easy to do.
Yeah. What about the caribou head here?
Oh, that was my breakthrough point, I guess you could say, because I figured if I could do that, then I'd follow up on it and continue, and hopefully one day to become a professional.
How hard is it to do with the fish?
Well, the fish it's all basic. Everything is basic. They look different, but there's one certain way to skin it and preserve it and tan it and stuff like that.
How hard is it to paint fish?
Well, it's not very hard. You go through different methods. You use an airbrush and very fine paints, a good compressor, and like I got a book where you follow the paint colors, what you apply, how much and where, stuff like that. It's fairly straightforward.
Do you gloss it after you paint it?
Yeah, they all come from polytrans-bar paint that they have semi-gloss and sealers and everything, so it's basically one type of paint.
Yeah. You have to order the painting, eh?
Yeah, well, all my materials now, I've started from AAA Taxidermy out of Calgary, and I was quite satisfied, so that's where I get all my materials from.
What other animals do you plan to mount?
Well, there's lots of resources around here. There's quite a few animals a guy could do from around this area, and eventually I'll be taking my products like probably out of the north and stuff. I think what I'd like to do really is Arctic foxes, because they're unique to the area,
yeah,
to the north.
Do you have anything else lined up to do?
No, I don't. Like all the stuff that I've done now, up to now, have been stuff that I've taken myself, and but eventually, probably this summer, I'll start taking orders and stuff.
Yeah. Would you go trapping wolverine and wolves and
yeah,
to mount it for yourself?
Yeah. That's basically what I'll be doing next winter, is gathering raw materials and and if someone would like me to do something, I'll be glad to do it.
Yeah. How do you start off a ptarmigan and finish it?
First thing you got to do is you got to shoot it, and you skin it. You skin it up from the breastbone to base of the before the base of the tail, and you cut out the limbs. You take the bones off. You leave the wing bones and leg bones, and you take the meat off. You turn the ptarmigan head over, and snip it at the base of the neck to the head, and you take the brains and all the guck out and stuff. What I usually do after that is wash it in dish soap, and I apply the eyes to the form. I make the form and put the neck and stuff on, and after it's been washed, I put it on the body and sew it up, and I start forming it from there while it's wet, so you can see the bones, how your muscle structures are and stuff. And after that, after I sew it up, I dry it with a hair dryer. And when it's semi-dry, I start building my natural base. And once I have that set, I put snow and stuff and form the ptarmigan and finish drying it off. I put it on the plaque, and she's set. Leave it for a few days, and it'll fluff out right good.
Yeah. How do you start off a fish and finish it when you put it on the plaque?
Okay, what I do is I take a look at it for show side, and I like to choose the best side, and the side that I choose, I cut it down the side on the opposite side, and I turn it over from there. The meat I find comes out real well. Clean out the head, the fin base of all the fins, and put it in salt it overnight. And by that time, I've already got my form made out. After it's salted, I put glue on, check the size, put the glue on, put the fish on, and sew it up. Set the fins. Use cardboard or cards. Deck of cards is good for that. Set the fins, and put the eyes in. Form the eyes. Form the head. Let it dry for a couple of days, and if you get some rough spots, you just take scalpel. It's a 2-base solution. You just smooth it out with scalpel or smooth out, and you let that dry for a while. And when the fins are dry, I usually leave it for 3 days or 3 to 7 days, and when it's dry, I give it a paint job.
Yeah. What about marten? How do you start and finish that product?
Well, it's skinned down the back again, the marten, and what I like to do before I do an animal is take pictures of it for reference, and I just skin her down the back. And like I said before, the forms I get in and tan it. Takes a few stages to do, but it does take much effort to do a marten in a natural base.
Yeah. How about this caribou head here? How do you start that and finish it?
Well, you check the antlers, you arrange the antlers so that they're centered, and after you're done that, you arrange the eyes so that they're centered, and you skin out the caribou. Tan it, you soak it in salt overnight, then you tan it with liquid tan. And when I do big things like this, I do a wet tan, call it a wet tan, and put the glue on, put the skin on and sew it, set around the eyes, the horns, the nose and stuff. And stuff like this takes months to dry. And what I do is, after a month or two, when it's had some time to dry, I take all my work and I put scalpel, finishing touches, paint around the eyes and the nose and mouth and stuff.
What year did you first start with your first mount?
Well, that was last fall in October. I did a piece back then. That was the loon and the fish. I've been off and on. I haven't sold anything yet. Well, I sold the carib, but that was about it. And now I'll be probably marketing my stuff.
What do you like about taxidermism and the fun that goes with it?
Well, I've always been fascinated with taxidermists since I could remember. I enjoy trying to bring them back to life in a natural habitat, and if at some time I feel that it's not gonna come back to life, I scrap it or I put it aside. I come back to it. But I enjoy it. I enjoy animals. I enjoy skinning them out and hunting them, and just basically to make it look nice, you know. The one thing that I always stress is I have respect for animals, and if they're not going to come back to life, then I just don't do them.
The first art festival was held here in July of 1989. Brenda Dillon talked to Rex Goose of Holman Island.
Were you given a name before or after you started your carving?
I have been given a name when I was born. My grandfather was a carver, a soapstone carver, and he died from breathing all this dust and brain tumor. So,
what inspired you into carving?
you know, I just love to do artwork, and I love to draw, and all that which is I just love to do artwork.
Does any of your family do artwork like you do?
Not at the moment. I think I'm just the one who's doing a lot of steady work right now.
What school did you go to for art, if you did go?
To the Holman Helen Calvac School, as it is now called.
What age were you when you first attempted to sell your drawing or carving?
I started back in 1979 with the art shop from Holman. And I started doing artwork similar to some scenes like this. I have been doing artwork for 7 years prior to starting carving just a year ago.
How long notice were you given before this festival was put up in order to get all your art pieces ready?
I heard about this art festival back in May, this spring, during which I have been carving about 12 hours a day since the new year in ivory.
Do you have future plans for your artwork after this festival?
Yes, I do. I do plan to do more shows down south through the co-op for the first few years. And yes, I will plan to do more shows with galleries and with artwork, stone carvings, ivory carvings, and yes, a lot more shows in the future.
How do you feel? Is this festival competitive, or is it more intake to you to learn more?
This festival has been very satisfying in the work that I've seen, and I think it was a boost in my career as a future artist.
Do you create your own style of carving when you're doing your art piece?
Yes, I try to create a style which I feel is myself when I carve. I do a lot of angling, and it develops as the carving is going, and it just develops into a certain style the way I want it to turn out.
Okay. Do you have a favorite art piece?
Yes, I have several favorite art pieces which have been part of the show, and I would like to do a few more versions of them in the future.
Do you have a favorite artist?
Yes, there are a lot of artists that I admire their work, but I can't really say off the top of my head right now. But as you can see, there are a lot of famous carvings from famous carvers around this art show. So,
does any of your artwork have any stories to it?
no, not basically at the moment, but I will plan to do more legends and stories in the future with my work.
Is your artwork related to the North?
Yes, it is, to my background and to the North and to the area where I have lived.
Okay. Where do your ideas come from in your carvings?
My imagination. I just think, and then, well, I guess when I look at a piece, I'll just imagine it's a carving and then carve it out. And that's how I get my ideas.
Were you given any kind of support to come here for the festival?
No, I flew up here on a charter about a couple of weeks back from today. So,
if any of your carvings were sold here, would you have to give a percent to the festival?
yes, they take 30% and I get the price that I asked, and then they add 30%, which works out to about a reasonable price for a first show anyway. Which I think is very good.
Have you met any well-known artists in your artistic time you've been carving?
Well, this is the first show I've done, and I've met quite a few carvers from the NWT.
Have you ever gotten any artistic tips from any famous artists?
Well, tips which I just see, I just absorb, like I can just look at a carving and then automatically tell the style it has been carved and see his work. And I just take it from there. Like I get ideas. I get a lot of ideas when I see a lot of artwork. And I get my tips from there.
Have you ever been to any other festival besides this?
No, this is the first. This is my first show here, the Illisiak Arts Festival.
What comments would you give to younger art carvers or drawing like you? What comments would you give to them?
Well, it all depends on the questions. Okay, a comment would, I would say that if I saw a particular carving and then improvement that could have been done, I'll tell them how to shape a carving, and then you just use your imagination and get your ideas from there. The pointers you can, well, I haven't done much instructing, just a lot of carving.
During the art festival, David Rubin was in charge of building up the Inuvialuit in front of the Mackenzie Hotel in the parking lot.
No, it's good.
All started when I was 3 years old.
Hey Jim, what you up to?